Hey guys, today we're going to going through the malware traffic analysis.net. So this video will be a basic incident response for the traffic, for analysis the traffic with the Wireshark. And this video will be a series, so I will keep doing those exercise and making video for them. So let's getting started. So we were working on this latest traffic analysis exercise, and it's coming out at February 8th. So we can getting started. I haven't done this analysis before, so it might be I don't know how far I can go with, but I will try my best to finish the most part for the task. It's basically I don't have any ideas, so I will just find what I can and write a report for it. So let's get started. So first we need to download this 2-zip file. So there's a pcap file and there's a IDS alerts file you can use. And let's download this IDS alerts file. And now we need to copy it to the desktop. By the way, I ran this analysis in a security onion because this is a really good platform to use as a blue team. It's kind of like a Kali Linux, in case you don't know, where you have all these blue team tools installed for you already. So it will be really convenient for me. So I just need to cut them to the desktop and unzip them. So everything from the malware traffic.net, it has a password infected. So you need to use it to extract your traffic, extract the zip file. So let's first of all let's starting this pcap file. And then let's also look through the IDS alerts. So we have these alerts. I think it would be best to starting from the alerts and going deeper to the pcap file later, so we can get a good image first. So we see that here we have these IDS alerts, and we can see there's some critical alerts over here. They're marked in the red color, and there's some orange one. I believe those are not as critical as the red one, but we can see that we have this. I think we need to read the situation first. So what I'm going to do is to copy this scenario and just paste onto the desktop so we can have like a better visualization for the requirements. So going to desktop, touch info.txt. So we create this text file and we want to copy this to here. So we got this LAN Sigma range. We have 10.2.8.0/24 is basically what the company's internal LAN's IP address, and we got this domain. It's it's this domain name, and you have this domain controller sitting at 10.2.8.2, corresponding this host name for the domain controller, and you got this gateway over here, and you also got broadcasting address. And I think the typical task for a basic IR, you have the executive summary. You have like, you need to list what happened, when, who, what, and you need to list out the victim, host name, IP address, MAC address, and the Windows user account name. And you also need to figure out the IOC. Basically, you need to find out all the IP addresses, domains, URLs, and all the executable binaries you can extract from the PCAP. So we want to keep things as simple and easy to understand as possible as a security analyst. So when we're writing the report, so we're gonna also create a file as our report. So we have this file here. So we're gonna use this as our report file. So now let's going back to the alerts. So we see that the first critical alert is going to this IP address. We realize that this IP address is actually in our internal network. So we can show that this is this 10.2.8.101 is one of our workstation in our internal network. And the first one is SSL cert observed. So it's a policy event message, and we got it's from Let's Encrypt, and we have this something interesting here is we have this malware detected, and we can also see here we have on UU port possibly hostile 8080, and we have the port 8080 from this IP address, and we have the shell code jump to call shell code detected. So here this one, it possibly is some shell code was being executed on the host in order for getting a shell back to the attacker. And we have this exe executable file was downloaded through the HTTP. We have this binary was downloaded to the workstation. We have this metapter. The keyword here is metapter. We know that some kind of malware triggered metapter on the host, and we have this Cobalt Strike beacon observed. We have this exe or DLL was being downloaded, and moving to the to this line, we have this stealer activity. So some sort of malware. I think there are multiple malwares was being downloaded to the workstation and triggered all these alerts. So from here, we can basically already get tons of very useful information. So we can make a really basic writing down some basic information we can gather at this moment, and we will dig into deeper later in the Wireshark. So we can see that the victim, the victim, right? So the victim host, victim IP address, right? So it's 10.2.8.101, and we don't know the MAC address and the host name yet, but we can see that there's some IOC we can already gather through this alert. So we have the IP address. So we have 198.211.10. 238, 211, sorry guys. And we have, I believe this 213 is also malicious based on our alerts. We need to investigate them later to double check, but we're just gonna write them down at the moment. I think it's the best idea to like writing down all the IP address, because if the IDS triggered something, it should be, even if not, even the event message is not seems like not very serious, but it's always a good idea to write everything down, I think, for the later investigation. So you have this 54235 147.252, and you have this one. Definitely I think it's malicious because it's trying to download a executable file from there. So usually the attacker will use some sort of executable to get on your machine. So .10.147, and we have, yeah, so we have this 185.100.65.29. okay, so we got this file in here. We got all this IP address. I can see, I can observe right now. I believe here the 162, that IP address, I need to copy it from this raw alert. So just copy it because we want to gather as much as information right now. So now we gathered all this IP address. We want to dig them deeper in the Wireshark. So I have this Wireshark opened here. So the first thing I would like to do is, if you guys not aware that here we have this view tab over here, and I want to because I want to gather all the IOC information and see what kind of the URL or IP address was corresponding to that certain machine. So I would choose resolve the network address. So they will show the corresponding URL for that IP address. And the next thing I would do is display the time format. It really depends on your needs. If you want to display them as a host time, you can choose the first option, but I would choose, I want to use the standard UTC time, so it's much standard time. So I'm gonna choose standard UTC, so I can see all this time was being displayed. So now we want to see, definitely I think most interesting part for this kind of thing is look through the HTTP, because we see there's some executable was being downloaded to the machine, so we want to see that. So I want to add them to the label first, so it will be easier for us to navigate later, so we don't have to type it every time. So we got HTTP here, and trying to gather some basic information. We can see that we have this. We want to gather the IOC's IP address, domain, URL. Let's identify the victim's host name and the IP address first, and the MAC address. So we want to identify the victim first. So host name, so we can say that host name is this desktop dash mgvg g60z. So this is our host name. So we can actually just go into the this layer 3 over here. Layer 3, we can go into the layer 3, and we can see that we have this source over here. So we can just copy the visible tree item, and we want to just put that in here. So not all the information, not every is there's something we don't need, so we can delete them. My security onion is kind of lagging right now, so sorry guys, kind of slow. So sometimes you will see my mouse actually cannot move. Is because I think my security onion was taking too much resources, because I only have like 16 gigabytes RAM on my laptop. So and we have this host name in here, and we want to gather the MAC address, right? You want to gather the MAC address for that victim. So it will be used for the later investigation. So we see that the MAC address, we can go into the layer 2. We can see that the MAC address, it's this it's associated with this address. So let's see. So we want to select all the visible tree item, and we want to copy it, paste to here, and we see that we have this we have this MAC address over here. So this is the MAC address we're looking for. So we want to actually sorry guys, so it's kind of lagging. So let me pause a second. Alright guys, we are back here, and it turns out there's some a lot of processes running on my security onion, so I have to shut them down. So let's resume our investigation. So we have this MAC address over here, and we have that MAC address, and if you're curious what kind of workstation this is, actually we can see if we going back to the if we do not resolve the network, we can see that we have this. If we go into the layer 2, we can actually see we have this HP. So if you really curious what kind of workstation was on that host, so I believe I opened the actual one, so I need to close it first. So if you think that if you're curious what kind of workstation is that, we can see here that it is actually a HP machine for that user. So that is our some basic information gathering regards this machine. So we can say that it is HP workstation, right? So we put in here. And then the next step, what we want to looking for is the Windows user account name. Okay, so this user actually, we want to see that what kind of HTTP requests was being made. So we can follow the HTTP request. We can see here that we have this this first couple, the first domain, it looks really suspicious to me. because you have this uninviting.php. The second one, I think looks fine because it's Microsoft. You have, but this one we see we have like a form.php, so potentially the user submitted some information on that form. We can make an assumption, and we have this URL over here that is definitely some malicious stuff going on here. We can relate back to our alerts. We have this COBOL strike beaconing and the Metapter observed after the executable was being downloaded. So we can see that we have this executable was being downloaded. But let's go into see what kind of information the user was submitted on that form. So if we're going back to the network address resolution, we can just check what kind of form on here. So we can see that this user made a post request to the form. If we follow the HTTP stream, we can see something interesting here. So we see that this line over here, I can copy it to our IR report in here. So we see that this is the IP address. It potentially is associated with that URL, I believe, but with that form. But I see here we have this user's account name bill.cook, because we have this company domain name and the backslash bill.cook. So we know that the account name for the user is bill.cook. So we have this user definitely was clicked some sort of phishing email, or he just downloaded this malicious information from that machine from the attacker's URL. So we have, I want to make another file to just put our notes, like random notes, because I think that's a good idea. You want to have this IR report, and you want to also have a place for your notes. So we have this in here, and I think the next step, we can just proceeding to look through this IOC, because that's a big part for our investigation. So we want to figure out all these IP address they have, if they have the corresponding URL or not. So let's going back to our HTTP requests. So here is a form.php. We need to correlate this, corresponding this with our HTTP requests. So we see that we have this URL over here. This one is definitely malicious because it's involved into the executable. So we want to figure out that in our Wireshark. So their display filter we can use for filtering the certain URL, but since this does not involve in a lot of URL, I would just directly go directly to that URL, find it out. So you have this I think you can actually do stuff a little bit more efficiency. So it's not that. I want to see what kind of display filter I can use to find out the URL. So Wireshark display filter, HTTP URL. Yeah, it's just not really helpful at this moment, but we know this one is for sure is malicious. That's definitely something going on over here, but I just want to mapping back the IP address. But we can see here that we have this domain name, and it making same requests to our workstation was making the same requests to the port 80 on this domain. So it looks like a node like a regular user would do. It looks really suspicious. We see here we have a lot of ACK going on. So if we're going to look in the follow the HTTP stream for this specific domain, if we just follow the HTTP stream, we can see that we have some like weird stuff going on in here. So I believe this is the shell code. The alerts was informed us because we have this shell code. So we see that we have this kind of stuff in the hypertext protocol. We have some really weird backslash. So this definitely is a malicious URL. So we want to note down the IP address corresponding to its URL, so we can put in our report. So we can type out that URL. So we can actually just copy it. So we go into the layer, this layer, check out this layer 3 over here. We can copy it. Just copy it to our report. So we got this URL in here, right? And we need to figure out the rest of the corresponding them to the rest of the URL. So I didn't say that this so this 185 is actually is this Fiker stealer activity. So it's definitely malicious. It's a malware. But I'm not sure if it's actually shell code, but it's definitely something malicious. And I didn't say the 198 has a URL. So maybe it's just it's a cross, like a Cobol Strike. The IDS told us it's a Cobol Strike beaconing, so it's maybe a C2 server was being setting up by the attacker. So, but it does not have a URL, so we can leave that alone. So let's looking through some other interesting URL we can find. I think there is a URL starts with R. We saw earlier. So trying to find that out. So we have this this URL. We have this uninviting.php. So if we're following the HTTP stream, okay, so we see that we have this this JavaScript over here, and but we have this really long strange function. This is a base 64 encoded, so we have this ATOB in here. So we know that this some sort of encoding was being used by the attacker. It's potentially is a base 64. So this definitely looks malicious because normal website would not encode like this. And we see that in the end we have this. In the body we have this URL. It's a doc file. So this could potentially malicious because normal URL, because usually this kind of doc file is being is some sort of executable or have some sort of macro was being embedded into the document. So we want to copy it, put as our one of our IOC over here, and we want to see what kind of IP address this pcap file has. So the IP address, I believe it is not even in our initial IP addresses. So we want to write this down very quick. Just copy it, simple and easy. So we got this URL over here. So this one is malicious too, and it has like a corresponding malicious, potentially hosting this URL in here. So hosting this file in here. So I really trying to looking through that URL starts with R. So yeah, we see that we found this URL over here, and the IP address is corresponding IP address is starts as 8. So we can see that we can just copy the IP the URL to our IR report, because sometimes it's not guaranteed you can find everything at this short amount of time. So we just gonna gather as much information as we can. So you got this URL, and I wanna see if we can find out any 54 even this. So there is another feature in the Wireshark is really helpful, is the conversations. So if you want to look through the certain IP addresses corresponding to our victim, you can just sorting through this TCP conversation IPv4. We can see that if I sort by the external IP address, I want to see what kind of conversation was being made between the 213 to our host. So because I want to figure out the URL, so you can prepare it as a filter in the both direction A to B. So you want to just filter this out. So this one is actually our the IP address is actually malicious, as we say early. So we gonna gather this IP address to our incident report. So it's definitely this one is a malware. It's hosting a malware based on our alerts. So we wanna gather more information for this IP address. So let's going back to our conversation, and we got this 54 in here, right? So you wanna just filter it out, right? Wait, I wonder if I gather the correct IP address or not. Excuse me, sorry. So I'm not entirely sure why is this being flagged as critical. This one is like an external IP lookup, so I'm not sure what kind of stuff is this. IPIFY. So you got like a simple public IP API. I think this one is just like an API for your public IP address, but I'm not entirely sure what this used for. So, but it was being hosted on AWS, so I'm not sure if this is a real alert or not, but I mean, just in case, let's just write it down to our IR report, right? So you just put this down in here. You got this URL was being hosted on the AWS, but I don't think this is malicious. This is just like an IP lookup, like an API for your public IP address. So the only IP address we can see right now is this IP address. So let's going back to our conversation to see if we can find more information about this certain IP address. So this one is basically the SSL certifications from Let's Encrypt. So if we're looking through the 162, this one, so it's from the Let's Encrypt. It might be my suspicion. My suspicion for this one. My assumption is that maybe the attacker is doing some sort of encryption. I believe I'm not entirely sure, but this looks like Let's Encrypt URL. I'm not sure if it's malicious. Maybe it's not, but let's just write it down just in case. It's always better to have more information to use later, even it's not malicious. So the last step for this one is definitely malicious because we saw that there is executable was being downloaded, but I didn't see there's any URL corresponding to this IP. So let's move into the next task. So, oh gosh, I closed my info. Sorry guys. So let me open that again. The next task is you wanted to export all these malicious files you think they are, and you want to collecting the SHA-256 on them. So in the Wireshark there's a really powerful feature. You guys can see that. Actually, I don't want to close those because they might be helpful for me. Just a convenient way. Let me look in the protocol hierarchy very fast. Nothing interesting to me, but there's a very powerful feature for the Wireshark for the to extract all this information, all this file from the packets. So this one is under export objects, and you have this HTTP. So we can see we have all these files was being visited by our victim machine, and so the reason we want to gather this is that it will be really beneficial for our investigation later. So for more like more advanced analysis later, so we want to save this executable. So we want to just put in our desktop, and I want to create a folder for this. So IOC files, right? So I save that to our folder, and I mean, this binary file looks pretty malicious to me as well, and as well this one. You don't have to know like exactly what they are, but as a security analyst, you have to do your job to gather as much information as you can. So this PHP file, as we saw earlier, it's a malicious PHP file, has like a base 64 encoding in there. So we want to also extract this to our IOC. Maybe this form.php looks interesting to us, so I'm gonna to extract it as well. And we have this. This I think this might be because based on our alerts, we see that 198 is the associated with Cobalt Strike and the Metiviter. So I believe this could be an agent was being downloaded to the attacker's to the victim machine, and triggered that Metiviter. So let's also save it to our IOC files. So later on we can use something like a virus total or the any.run to see what kind of information was being collected, like what kind of virus it is. It really depends on your needs, you know. So we have this one, I believe it's I'm not sure what this is. This one, it may be like certifications, or this one, those are the forms. They are not executable, so I don't think we necessarily need to extract those. So we got this IOC in here. So it asking us to getting the SHA-50 256 on them. So SHA-256 on all these files we were collected, right? Let's just this one is definitely malicious. So oh, sorry guys, so my bad. So it's SHA-256 sum. You want this as your IOC, right? You want this as your IOC. Excuse me. And you have couple other files. So this could potentially as IOC as well, right? So you're gonna put it in there. I think it's best to just put the corresponding name next to the hash, because it will be easier for us later to doing more investigation. So you got this being a binary file, so I'm pretty sure that binary file could be potentially harmful as well, because it downloaded from the same IP address. So I will just collect it anyway. Right, so you have this this binary over here. And we got our last. Yep, we got our last. The last one I wanna collecting is this binary, right? So let's just it's always kind of lagging. I'm not sure why. Wait. Holy crazy. Yeah, my text editor was just freezed. Okay, so we got this hash. So if you want to verify it, like if they are actually malicious, right? So you can go into something like a VirusTotal or any.run, right? So those are two major resources you can use to just doing a quick analysis on this IOC you just collected. So you can search through the SHA you just collected, or you can upload the file to the VirusTotal. It become a little bit slow again. I'm not sure why is security onion take so much resources. So you have this so let's just wait for this VirusTotal giving us back the. So as we see that this is actually still alive. This malware right now, it's just being updated like 4 hours ago. It's definitely something like a Trojan kind of stuff malware. So we have like more details on here. We have we can see its behaviors. So it's getting really slow, but so you guys getting this idea, right? So we can say this malware it's actually making that HTTP request to that public IP. I was not sure earlier, so it's actually making HTTP request to that all this URL. We can also say that we have this URL we identified earlier, so it's it is an attack. Definitely it's malicious. So how can we like writing down this our executive summary for this IR? There are definitely more to look for, just like compared to what I just did, but I'm just gonna do like a basic IR for this. Just write a basic IR report, but there is definitely more we can look at. So we have this. Oh God, come on, do your trick. Copy and paste. Right? Come on. Yeah, I don't know why the security onion is getting really slow sometimes. So maybe next time we will use like I will use another operating system to do it. The reason I do not do it on the Windows is because Windows, the Defender will definitely delete all this executable I just extracted. So I did on the security onion, but maybe next time I will use like another operating system consumes less resources. So the executive summary, we can just say that it's asking for when, who, what. So let's gather the time first, right? Shoot. So bear with my Wireshark. My Wireshark is getting really slow right now because the security onion is just getting really slow. So we can see that between the around this time, right? Like at because I do not think this image requests are malicious, so I just wanna say, yeah, so I think it's starting from here actually. So at this time, right, at 2021 0208 59.12 UTC, the user Bill Cook on the yeah, it's really slow, guys, sorry. So on the workstation, MGVG60Z was infected by the malware. So that is all for today, and thank you guys for watching this. And I know there's like a time that my security onion getting really slow, but thank you guys for watching this. And next time I will continue doing the scenario on the malwaretraffic.net, and This will be a really good time for me to learn Wireshark and getting good with Wireshark as well. So thank you guys for watching, and see you guys next time.